Last time, guys, we were discussing ancient Greece. Today we're going to discuss ancient Rome. And first, I would like to start off by saying both of these civilizations, we are just skimming the surface of them. There is so much more to know about both of these cultures that if you wanted to delve in deeper, there is tons of information about these cultures and lots of fun, interesting things that you could research if you wanted to. So just keep that in mind as we go along, that we are very, very at the surface, at the very top of these civilizations and what we're talking about. Okay, the ancient Roman civilization. They share several things. They share a written language, a system of government, advances in arts and sciences, and a common culture. They're a very highly organized culture and civilization, just like the Greeks were. The picture in the bottom right-hand corner is a present-day picture of Roma, Italy. We call it Rome. If you're actually in Italy, they call it Roma, of one of the major rivers running through. And of course, there's a basilica in the back. And you'll notice through these pictures some architectural details that you're going to see that are different than what we saw with the Greek civilization. Okay, the physical characteristics of the ancient Roman Empire. Again, this is a map of the Roman Empire at its highest. That's when they controlled the most land. Like the Greeks, they were very successful at doing this. However, the Romans were much more successful. As you can see by the map, they controlled an extraordinary amount of area on both the African, the Asian, and the European continents. So the ancient Roman Empire basically is focused or centered around the Mediterranean Sea. So there is the Mediterranean Sea. It also covers parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa. So here is Africa, here is Asia, and then of course this is Europe. Italy, which is today what we would consider the artifacts or the remnants of the Roman Empire, is the boot-shaped peninsula here. That's Italy, and of course that's where Rome is located. It reached as far north as the United Kingdom. So all of England at one point in time belonged to the Roman Empire. It also included the present-day countries of Portugal and Spain in this area, France, Italy, the Balkans, parts of Turkey, Southwest Asia in this area, and of course Northern Africa. Representative democracy. Just like the Greeks influenced the type of government we have, so did the Romans. And the Romans had a representative democracy where the wealthy, or the citizens, which were wealthy men, voted on representatives to make the laws. And then those laws applied to everyone. All of this is exactly how we use our government here today. So just like the Greeks and the Romans influence in our government, we use the representative democracy in the U.S. today. Architecture. Okay, here's where you're seeing the major shift in architecture, the Greeks versus the Romans. The Greeks, of course, used columns, and we talked about the three different styles of columns. Well, the Romans created and used arches in their buildings. They used it in their bridges and in their aqueducts. So they didn't use columns to support, they used arches for everything. And here you can see two ancient examples of that. Of course, here's their aqueduct, and again you see the arches, and the water would run along the top in a canal, a man-made canal along the top of the aqueducts, and that is how they moved water from one area to another. Today, we have the exact same thing, except we run it through PVC pipe and it is buried underneath the ground so that you don't see it. But they were designed to pump water into the city, and it was used for humans and for irrigation as well as animals. So to make sure everybody in that area had enough water. Okay, Roads were real big to the Roman Empire. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons they were as successful as they were, is they were able to build these roads, and they connected together, and that way people could move from one area to another very quickly. And more importantly, their soldiers could move swiftly from one area to another and be able to go into an area and take over and either assimilate those people into their culture, or the Romans just had control and let the culture continue to exist the way that it was. So here's a picture of an ancient Roman road. Not exactly the roads we have today, but it did allow them to move more quickly. Roman art. Mosaics. Mosaics are huge with Roman art. And if you travel to Europe today, you can still see these artifacts in different places throughout the country. One of the places we visited was Pompeii, which of course is the ancient city that was covered by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and it erupted instantly. And people were caught and killed basically within a few seconds. And as they have excavated the city, they still today are finding mosaic art that was on the walls of their gardens and in their homes and places like this. And it's those small pieces of glass, tile, or stone that are basically glued together to create images such as this one below. Okay, religion. The Romans started off, ancient Romans started off believing in gods and goddesses just like the Greeks, but theirs had different names. For example, Zeus was the highest god of the Greeks. Well, in Roman history, Jupiter was. And if you look at the names of the gods that are listed here, you can see where we get a lot of the names for our planets. So here is another contribution that the Romans have made to our current day existence, is the names of the planets. Ancient Rome also gave us the calendar that we use today, 365 days, and they also gave us the names of the months. So we've been using the calendar that we have now for more than 2,000 years. The other thing they gave us is a good portion of our language. As we study the roots to words, lots of our words are either made up of Latin roots or Greek roots. So we have taken their language that was created thousands of years ago, and we are still employing those things in our language today. That is why when you hear certain Spanish words or certain French words, they sound very similar to English words, and that's because they all began with the same either Roman or Greek root and were changed based on the language and the dialect of the region. They gave us the Roman numerals that we still see on clocks, watches, and books today. So when we talk about Roman numerals, we're talking about real Roman numerals. They came from ancient Rome. The people of ancient Rome, they were classified different ways. The men were citizens. The women were not. They were considered caretakers. They had less responsibility than the men did in the overall running of government, decision-making, things of that nature. Boys were educated, while girls learned to do handcrafts and household chores. So my question for you would be, if you were in ancient Rome now, what do you think you might be doing?